Are you an OCD or perfectionist? Whatever you are, I am. When I play games, somehow I put myself into inconspicuous things and make them as perfect as possible. But it turns out that not everything obeys my heart, such as it has been so many bugs in the game during 13 years, and some of them really makes me crazy. Can you imagine how tormented it is when an OCD encounters imperfect things caused by the game feature? But today I'd like to introduce some detailed bugs that not only confuses me but as well most of creators. I personally call them the bugs of inaccuracy because all of them are the terrible outcome of unexpected or undeveloped calculation. If we review them independently, they could be okay, but it could be lead to a catastrophe with all things combined, especially for lots of modern levels with fabulous deco. Honestly, lots of details are that way fragmented and somehow one relates another or each other. I apologize for my scripting skill issue at first, but still, I will try my best to straighten them out as much as I could and provide some method to get rid of them in a minimum of cost. Rounding off is a math concept that you are supposed to know when you are in primary school. In case you've yet not been in primary school, when the last digits of a number is 4 or less, this digit is directly deleted, whereas 5 or more is one carried over. As for the game, RobTop has coded that a number is only maintained limited digits accordingly with the method of rounding off. Thus I regard the value that is rounded off is the key point that we have to prevent from. So now let's see how many systems related with rounding off can be found. I have certain proofs about that RobTop only maintains 6 digital places for position system. One is vertically placed in an outline top tile. Now we have placed such a structure here. When we save the level and restart, we can figure out that somehow the outline top tile is no longer aligned. The first thing we have to be clear is that the height of this limb guy is 1.5, which means that the central position is commonly certainly related with 0.75. In this instance, the x value of the center of this tile is supposed to be 10,020.75, but like I said before, only 6 digits are maintained, so the 5 has to be rounded off, with a consequence of 10,020.8 as actual position. By the way, I remember that Colin suggests that object positions are only accurate to 3 decimal places, and now I have proved that he's wrong. Most of levels end at the position between 10,000 and 100,000, so if we create a rate-worthy level, we will soon have to face a position accuracy dilemma. But it's yet forgivable since most of players ignore these tiny details due to many kinds of reasons. To provide solution to it, we have to look for an object that both plays the same role as outline top tile and shares the same axis alignment with corner blocks. If I'm asked, I like to choose colored blocks. You can set detail color 0 opacity or blended black so that colored block is visually invisible. Rotation and accuracy is really a historical leftover, but here I don't want to discuss its history, we should focus on present issues. In 2.2, rotation now accepts a number with decimals, means that we can take accurate operation with objects. But don't be so glad. One hand, the game only saves 2 decimal places of a positive rotation value, also known as clockwise. The other hand, every time the game saves a negative value or counterclockwise, it even ignores the rule of rounding off and subtracts 0.01 before the value becomes an integer. So what's the significance of extra decimal places, Rob? Secondly, rotation inaccuracy as well emerges when an object makes a complete 360 degrees. Now we have a radial pattern at the angle between rays is 22.5 degrees. After this pattern is rotated 360 degrees in clockwise, it is apparent to figure out that decimal places are ignored. I've really been confused by these annoying ones. Fortunately, the solution is also simple, but if you are really willing to get rid of this, I highly recommend that you should install Geode. Geode's significance to Geometry Dash is relatively equal to Forge, Fabric, or NeoForge to Minecraft. Better rated by H.A. Ford provides a function that you can input a value to the object rotation value. If we want to ask the object rotate, we can just input positive numbers with at most 2 decimal places, and both the issues mentioned before are resolved. Despite we eventually have to bear the decimal digits inaccuracy, at least we can get rid of it in a sense. I think this year's scale system works fine and there's nothing much to figure out. The only we have to pay attention with is that the scale value of an object is only accurate to 3 decimal places. So still you can insert an accurate number that at most 3 decimal places are contained with better edits. Despite keyframe, scale trigger or warp tool indeed creates a more accurate number for objects, it still only maintains 3 decimal places as most once you duplicate them. Minute, did I miss something just now? Well, we have been introduced so many inaccuracies, and I think it's time to take a look for who is the main initiator of all above. Yeah, I don't deny that Warp 2 brings a huge evolution and convenience for creating, but in current, the Warp 2 is undeveloped in certain perspective. The reason I say so is that all inaccuracies mentioned above can be produced with Warp 2. Inside, rotation and scale is severely affected. Let's go on with warp first. In 2.2, RobTop introduced another rotation axis, which is served for warp operation and is called rotation Y by some geode models. Usually when we rotate an object, we are essentially tweaking both the value of rotation X and Y at once, and we use warp 2, this means that we are able to tweak each independently. Warp operation not only includes independent tweaks to rotation X or Y, but also size. For example, I want to make this glow object to fit with the slope, and I just need to warp it vertically. And here's the issue happens. The length of it now is 2 times the root 2, a non-repeating infinite decimal, but the editor only saves 3 decimal places of it, so in some cases you may discover that it's not seamless. Warp 2 itself also contains scale and rotate operation, but trust me, don't use it or you'll regret for that. Firstly, rotation itself in Warp 2 is inaccurate. I've installed a mod called More Object Info by Jessamine00, and you can see that when I rotate with Warp 2, the value of rotation X and Y becomes inconsistent. And that's not it. Secondly, if you try to scale a rotated object with Warp 2, you can see that somehow rotation value emerges unexpected deviation for each. Why? I really cannot get it. I'm just tweaking scale, and why has it something to do with rotation? I really need something to calm myself down. I think it may explain that why some creators are confused with they say automatically rotation. If they have used Warp 2, the stage they met would make sense. Honestly, I currently cannot come up with another quick and convenient ideas to prevent from the inaccuracy caused by Warp 2. A good news is that there's a mod called Incassys Editor Utils, which allows you to copy most of states from an object and paste independently to another. When you need to warp, you can do with Warp 2 to estimate the value you want, then undo and duplicate the value you want from the preset object. Okay, I think the introduction to the inaccuracies of rounding off should be ended up. A bad news here, from the perspective of causality, rounding off is just a fundamental outcome of how inaccuracies takes place, and not the origin of the fault. If we cannot figure out what makes rounding off happens, we will never purge all inaccuracies in Essential. Pressing it on the B keyboard allows you to preview the level in editor, but here if you do so, I'd like to advise you that, woe is thee, you may encounter rounding off inaccuracy very soon. Honestly, this bug is so mean. Creators just want to check if their triggers work fine, but how come the inaccuracy takes place whenever the preview is ended? If you cannot catch me, just go on to see these examples. This is especially biased with area move trigger. I've been having a bad habit that I always set a large value for object movements, and I'm sowing the seed of catastrophe. In this case, when you preview once in editor, you may figure out that the object position deviation takes place. A reasonable explanation I can come up with is that it's the flaw of single precision floating point, or float. It's a computation data format and also used by Geometry Dash. The key of float is that it maintains almost 7 decimal places, and the least one will be abandoned whenever another largest digit takes place. And even the unit digit will be imprecise, when the number is larger than 60,777,216. I believe the rotate trigger has confused you guys so much back in 2.1. Back then, when objects are asked to rotate and then stop preview, they somehow deviate 1 clockwise degree. This bug is not easy to be reproduced in 2.2, but it's still possible to be done with inserting a large number to ask counterclockwise rotate objects to rotate. Rotation and accuracy is now mainly focused on area rotate trigger. You can group up some objects and make them obey an area rotate, left them alone, and test your other things as usual. Soon you will discover that almost all of these objects were deviated. I yet have no direct proof that scale trigger produces inaccuracy, but I still recommend you that do not trigger it when editor previewing, because I discovered that when you use this scale trigger, it will be rather said that you are asking it to use warp tool. Take a look at this. I'm using the scale trigger to have 7 blocks be shrunk into 1 block. Checking the values shown on left, and you can see that all are deviated. So if you want to duplicate the objects that are operated by triggers, I'm sorry, you experience the same outcome. I didn't provide a method to prevent from those inaccuracy possibilities for each above, since they all can be prevented with the same method of simply clicking save and play. With this method, the game wouldn't operate in editor, and thus inaccuracy wouldn't never happens. If you really carefully follow the steps to completely prevent from these inaccuracies and always preview your project with actually playing, you may need to cost bonus time to fix those deviated objects, since it's been put for your carefulness during the preliminary stage. If you really need to preview in editor, you can mark those triggers task triggered and no touch in extra or spell triggered without any groups to make them never be triggered before you completely finish your decoration and re-enable them. By the way, due to a bug, area triggers with no touch will automatically operate as if the ignore link is on. Be cautious with it if no touch method is used. So that's what I currently want to share. When I was scripting this video, I had an opinion that these accuracy issues only affect Dibbleist players and have a few to do with mundane creators, but I don't think so. It turns out that more and more creators have become the victims of inaccuracy, and eventually the demand of accuracy will eventually be trickled down to our normal players. So I really want to do something to help them for the prevention from these issues. We often say that this game has an amazing community, since lots of players put themselves into the game and have created endless of values which cannot be measured by currency, and all they do is just want the game better and better. However, some of what they have done is the game developer or RobTop's duty, and why players have to tolerate. This game is going to have more and more community tools, but has RobTop fixed the most fundamental groundwork issues for these tools? RobTop has milked so much from the community, but I don't know how much he has got for the game's future. If we don't point out RobTop's faults, then we would be forced to be guilty on the charge of giving insufficient prices. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you can leave me a like and report this video to others. You can also discuss your methods about how to get rid of deviation in comments. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.